It went from motors to magnums. From the old 88 to the 38, Detroit is now gun-friendly for law-abiding citizens. As James Craig, Detroit's police chief, notes, Michigan's liberalized gun laws have made it easier to get concealed carry permits. And he doesn't mind because he's a realist. Roll it, Pablo.
Here in Detroit, people didn't have a lot of confidence that when they dialed 911, that the police were going to show up.
So you can't blame people for wanting to protect themselves as they see the reality of law enforcement. That law is enforced only after the law shows up, which can be a problem if you're already dead. So it's no surprise good people start packing. Detroit's a Wild West in need of order, and the people are figuring out what brings it. Only a peace brings the peace. As this Pew study finds that 54% of blacks now see gun ownership as a good thing, reflected in a rise of concealed weapons permits. So no matter how hard the establishment media tries, they can't convince good people how bad guns are when they are in the right hands. Perhaps the media misses the big point. They do their theorizing from the fishbowl of a well-protected studio and travel to and from work at reasonable hours through tony neighborhoods in secure vehicles. The fine people of Detroit don't have that luxury. They realize any argument against arming yourself is full of holes, which is not the way they'd like to end up being. All right, who agrees with me that this guy's right?
I do.
Okay, we're done. That's how we do our gun segments
Anyone
here.
with common sense
but can you blame people for not wanting to arm themselves if the police aren't going to arrive?
It's crazy. And even if the police do arrive, it's going to take some time. And what can happen in that period of time? This is such a common sense argument. I don't understand how anyone can refute the right of people, of law-abiding citizens who go through background checks, who are checked out, to arm themselves, to protect their families, when you know that the bad guys are going to get access to guns no matter what, and you're going to be victimized in the process unless you can defend yourself. I have yet to hear a sensible argument from the opposing side on this issue.
Well, let me try.
Juan, you want to give a shot?
Right. Why
no,
not?
right. She said sensible, Juan.
I know, and she said common sense.
Come on, man.
I can't do that. But I can try.
Let's go.
All right. Well, I mean, my worry is that, you know what, more guns, especially in bad neighborhoods where there's a lot of violence, just accelerates the violence.
It doesn't, though.
And in homes, I think the most likely person is going to get shot is me by my wife.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame her.
I know. But let me just say that I have lots of friends who now are with this new majority. I don't know if they're a majority that support the idea that everybody should have a gun, but they are more open to this idea according to the poll. But what's interesting, my friend's a Supreme Court Justice, Clarence Thomas. So he wrote in a case, he said, you know what, you go back and you will see that in days of slavery, segregation, all, guess who? What? White people didn't want black people to have guns. You know what? Because black rebels and revolutionaries would shoot back at the KKK.
Right, exactly.
So now you're in a situation, and the case he wrote this in involved a 76-year-old black man from Chicago. So Mr. McDonald. Mr. McDonald says to the court, you know what? There are too many gangbangers. There are too many bad guys in my Chicago neighborhoods. Justice Thomas says in response, the problem is not the guns. We don't have too many guns. We got too many criminals around here.
Right.
So his position is with Justice Gutfeld.
Yeah, it's true. And by the way, that's why Charlton Heston was so strong in the Second Amendment, was for blacks.
Yeah,
that they may be able to protect themselves.
That was the point.
Yeah, exactly.
But I must say, I don't think white people, by the way, white people are the ones who love guns the most, right? Whites and Republicans. But I don't think they're going to be so happy if all the black people who are so angry about police end up with guns.
Because we're racist.
Responsible citizens, regardless of
It's not true that white people and Republicans
because we're all
love
racist.
It's not true that white Republicans are not going to be in favor of black people having guns.
No, I said the black people who are upset with the police being a little bit aggressive. I think that's going to be fireworks.
I'm for every single law-abiding citizen to have a peace.
Oh, I agree. I grew up in the South, though. My dad hunts. My brother hunts.
Your gun has a gun.
My dad, all of his guns have guns. Seriously, though, I mean, we knew growing up, I always felt safe because Dad, I knew, was going to blow someone's head off if they tried to come into our house. Sorry, that's just
You must have had a great dating life.
Right. He did clean his guns several times, and it wasn't on purpose. He just hunts a lot. So they would come in, and he's like, got them all in the living room.
Yeah, that's smart.
I agree. I think if you're responsible, if you have a license to carry, why not?
It's a little anecdotal experience. Law enforcement also is in favor of the good guys having the guns. Very much in favor. I go to hunting. I go to a range half law enforcement, half regular citizens walking around. They work together. We work together great. They're much in favor of people owning guns and knowing how to use their gun. That's the most important thing, is that if it's legal and it's open and you're allowed to have it, you can go and understand how to use a gun. That's the biggest thing. And
you know, I hear you guys. I just worry about Newtown. I worry about Columbine.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
There's no
Worry
place
about
on earth
criminals
where a gun
outnumber you.
ban has actually reduced murder rate. And we're just reporting these things more. Newton is terrible, horrible, horrible, horrible. But the fact is, these things are rare, and we have to deal with how those people get guns.
Let me play devil's advocate. What if someone at that school had a gun? What if a teacher did? Or what if someone in that theater had a gun?
Look, are you kidding? They had an attack at Fort Hood. A lot of people had guns.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, yes. What are you kidding?
No, they didn't.
They did not have guns in the unit. Is what you're talking
they're not
about.
allowed to have them.
Everybody
What's
around
the point
had
of having them if you can't?
And they weren't able to stop them until an armed security got there. The fact is, the duration of a mass shootout is dictated by the arrival of a second gun.
Yeah,
that is a
that's fine.
fact.
Yeah, so in my feeling, let's do what Ainsley's Christian dad would say. Let us talk and stop shooting each other.
Criminals aren't listening to you. That's the problem, Juan.
All right.
Neither are Republicans.
Dad wouldn't be so graceful, though, if a burglar comes into his house. Sorry.
Yeah.